Who do you think should get winter fuel payments? The Prime Minister's signalled he's going to U-turn on cuts made last year, but so far there's been no information at all on what the U-turn will look like or who will now be eligible. So we're asking, what do you think should happen? Get your calls in now, 0207 862 2222. We'll start with you on this one, Albie. Why not? Professional political commentator as you are, were you pretty surprised, stroke horrified by an announcement that just didn't seem to follow through? It was kind of half of an announcement without the information anybody really wants.
No, you're right to say it wasn't a full announcement. It was very odd because the announcement also came in Prime Minister's questions, which is actually quite unusual. Normally you would expect this sort of announcement to happen a press conference, for example, but certainly not in Prime Minister's questions as we saw yesterday. Now, in terms of the announcement itself, I think I'm going to say something that might upset some of our viewers at home. I actually think the U-turn was wrong.
Why?
I think the decision to means test the winter fuel payment was actually the correct decision, because we're in a situation in this country which I'm actually quite concerned about, which is that by the middle of the century, we will default on our public spending commitments, which means we won't actually be able to afford the present public spending that we have today by the 2050s. I'm going to be here well past the 2050s. I don't want to see that happen.
You don't think it's a good idea to U-turn. You tell me why you think the Prime Minister did it then.
The Prime Minister did it because it was a very, very unpopular policy. I know from speaking to Labour activists that when they go out onto the doorsteps, for example, one of the things that was coming up time and time again was, we cannot believe the Prime Minister's taken away the winter fuel allowance. We saw the local election results a few weeks ago and it was terrible for Labour. So they've U-turned. And actually, generally speaking, it sounds really bad in the political world to U-turn, but the public quite like U-turns.
Let's go to Nikki on this one. Nikki, were you surprised by the U-turn? Do you think it's the right thing to have done? And are you confused by where it's really going?
Yes, I am confused, but we're waiting for the fiscal event to understand more. I'm assuming that's the autumn statement.
Yes.
The autumn statement, but that's not till the autumn, is
exactly.
Only May.
I mean, all I know is if you have paid in, you should receive. It's a simple equation for me. I don't know any more than that.
All right, Rosie, what do you think?
Well, I would say that my parents are both academics who both they went through the grammar school system, and they are both people that would generally think about, giving a benefit like that to all, but they said actually they could afford not to have the winter fuel allowance. So they agreed, even though they're very left wing, with the means testing, I have to say.
I think one of the issues, of course, was that those who were closest to the cut-off point were those who were feeling the pinch most acutely and therefore were incredibly worried because they really needed the money, and it was all about where the cut-off point was going to be. And one of the real issues with this so-called announcement is nobody knows where it's going now. So nobody at home can be comforted thinking, oh, good, I'll get mine, because they don't know if they will or if they won't. So it seems like such a kind of, I would use the polite phrase, half-hearted way of doing it, doesn't it? You don't have to make an announcement on any given day. Why not wait till you know what the full information is, so people who are meant to feel reassured can be reassured? At the moment, nobody knows. Let's go to Graham in Plymouth. Hello, Graham. What do you think, sir?
Hello, Vanessa.
Hi.
If you pay into a system and then that system defaults in paying you out, whether you need the money or not, whether you're on minimum wage or you're a billionaire, it's irrelevant. You've paid into a system that has defaulted. How can you run a country or a system on such a system as that?
What do you think of the actual process of U-turning? The government gets into power, Labour government, with a great mandate, immediately cuts the winter fuel allowance. It's desperately unpopular. Would you have respected Sir Keir Starmer and his party more if they stuck with it, having gone through all the criticism of having done it? Or do you think it was the right thing to change?
Well, the thing is, Vanessa, it's like the circus, isn't it? Doesn't matter which political party or which government, but they're all playing a game, and they're playing a game with people's lives.
I think that means you don't think the U-turn has been a good thing. Is that what you mean?
It neither affects nor bothers me, to be honest. Or most people, to be honest.
It probably should, though, because a government that defaults and changes so quickly probably should, at least in your mind and everybody else's hearts, start I suppose, provoking us at least to question the conviction. You know, if you do something and you're a conviction politician and it's very unpopular, you might say, well, at least have the guts to push it through or what? Graham, thanks so much. Graham thinks it's a circus, the coming, the going, the acrobats, the clowns and all of that. I think he thinks they're the clowns. Let's go to Diane in Northumberland. Hello, Diane. Good to hear from you. What do you think?
When I was watching the Jeremy Vine show and the farmer man, when they asked about having a box on your tax returns, and you could put a cross in the box and not take the money, he said, "Oh, I haven't got time for that." He must be a multi-millionaire. Right. To me, it's utter greed. I mean, you know, these pensioners are on about £700 a month, and he's a multi-millionaire and he won't take a box.
But you think that the pensioners who get the winter fuel allowance are being greedy, or only those? I mean, because it's an extra allowance, so you're feeling that it's a greedy thing. You think pensioners are wealthy at the moment? Do you?
No, but not all pensioners are hard up.
True.
You've got multi-millionaire pensioners. Do they really need £300 a month?
I mean, it's a question, Diane, isn't it? Obviously, and inevitably, and I think Albie will have a view on this, expensive to means test. And what you don't want to do is cancel out any savings by spending money on the means testing part, do you? It's a very difficult one. That's
often an argument against means testing. And it's actually the argument that was used during the pandemic about giving people the benefits that they got during the pandemic. It was a universal benefit, and they wouldn't have been able to means test it in time in a cost-efficient way in order to get it done properly. But I think in this case, when it comes to winter fuel allowance, the government actually already put this into how they were planning it. And so actually we knew that there was going to be a £1.5 billion saving. Right, let's go to Susan in West Yorkshire. What do you think, Susan?
Oh, hi, Vanessa. Hi. I don't think that they should tax to pay for the winter fuel. And I don't think it should be means tested either. These people that have got plenty of money that don't need it, just give it to charity. There's so many charities that need money, you know, and it saves money not mean tested.
I do. I was just thinking, because I think that's what Diane was getting at, that wealthy pensioners don't need this. My view is, if you pay in, you deserve to get out. But if you don't need it, give it to a charity. On the other hand, you know, that's also cumbersome. And also, how do you know that people won't spend it on sweets and comics and, you know, wine, women, song, and all sorts of all that. On the other hand, you might say good luck to them if you do, but you might not, mightn't you? I mean, well,
it would be interesting to see how many people would actually follow through and give to charities.
Then if they have earned all their lives and paid in, they equally deserve it. For the people who are under that line that we're so concerned about, then I don't know. I don't know. The interesting thing, Albie, is that there's no threshold announced in the announcement. No. So you've got this announcement saying we're U-turning, ... nothing till the autumn fiscal event. And so nobody knows really how to respond to a government announcement that is so lacking in detail.
And it was also based on the premise that the economy was doing better. So the question mark that came up in my head was, what if the economy is doing worse by autumn? Then will it just go back on this announcement? So there were two tests about this announcement. It was that the economy's got to be doing better, and also they didn't really announce what the new threshold would be.
And so you might say, Rosie, and you've been a journalist for God knows how many years, ever since you won the Vogue talent contest when you were at university. So you've been, you know, nose for a good story, eye on a good story. You might say, where are the people advising the government about how to make an announcement, the maximum impact to get from a U-turn? Because a U-turn is always a difficult one to sell, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very hard to PR, I think.
Yes.
And I think, as going to your point, it's very confusing for people. And let's not forget, this is massive thing for people. You know, my step-grandmother, you know, said to me they were having to go to each other's houses and decide who was going to put the heating on for that morning. You know, this is real people with real struggles.
And it doesn't feel real, does it?
No.
It feels like a PR announcement without the backup, without what people want, which presumably is the information that will reassure them. To be able to think, OK, I'm going to get it, good. And then not to ever have to think about it again, rather than have to worry and wonder all the way till the autumn. Let's talk to Cathy in Fife about this. Gosh, it can be cold in Fife, Cathy.
Yes, it can.
And so what are you thinking about the winter fuel allowance?
Well, I understand the government's need to save money, but the one way they could save it is by targeting pensioner households rather than individual pensioners. My husband and myself are both pensioners. Before we both got the heating allowance, but we live in the same house. You only need one heating allowance per house.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Are the rules the same in Scotland? Are the laws the same?
I think it's the same. Kathy, so I mean, is there any means, I don't think there is, for you to have said, well, we're getting it twice, so I'll return mine? There's no kind of box you can tick. There's no place you can return the money, is there?
No.
No. So,
and although we're both pensioners, we're low-income pensioners.
yes, and so the money has made a difference, but you felt that even your getting it twice was a too much of an abundant contribution? Too much for one household?
Yes.
Yeah. So this would be a way of tightening things up.
Yeah. We're all aware of the state of the country's finances.
Yes.
So one way they could do that is by targeting the households rather than individual pensioners.
Kathy, thank you very much indeed. Good to hear from you. Don't forget.